Cool. So I've hit the stream button. Just wait to see if it actually pops up, and it has with excellent connection apparently. So hello everyone, and welcome to the Polygon Forest podcast. I am Ubisoft concept artist Vin Hill, and I am joined as ever by indie developer Mr. Christopher Jarvis.
Hello.
And this week, not much happened, I guess. Like, it's been a bit of a quiet news week, but we're still going to plow through, and we're gonna talk about some stuffs, as it were. And we'll figure out something to talk about, I'm sure. Like, there's always stuff to talk about in video games.
Yes.
And there's always something to listen to. So please stick around and listen to what we have to say, I guess.
Yeah. Look at the length of the video, and you'll know that we talk about stuff between now and then.
Right. Yeah, this is true. Especially like if you're watching live, though, you might be bored out of school. But
good point.
Maybe we'll see.
People are watching live. Don't try and do that.
Yeah,
it will only end badly.
Indeed. So yeah, I mean, Chris, it's been, like I said, it's been a bit of a slow news week. We're going to talk through a few points, I guess, like after we've talked about what we've been playing. But until then, what have you been playing?
So I'd finished Eco, and I was on a little quest to figure out what I want to play. I had to spend out a lot of money with the whole house buying thing.
Right.
And so, and also figuring out that I'm going to have to spend out X, Y, and Z. So money it's definitely a factor. So I'm keeping on with I've thought about trading in my PS Now subscription, like ending it. It was like £8 a month or £9 a month. And I thought, no, just stick with it. And then whatever you play, it's just going to be that much, and it'll be fine. It'll be good for the podcast, says Chris, in my, past Chris. Stick with PS Now. It'll be good for the podcast. Try some things out. So I did. So I tried out, was it Gravity Falls? With like this anime character lady, and you can change the direction of gravity by pressing like the left bumper.
Oh, Gravity Rush.
Gravity Rush.
Yeah. And
I tried that for about 5 minutes.
Really? You couldn't get into it?
No, like if I was younger and I was like into anime and I wanted to be distracted and bombarded with flashing lights and colors.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
But my old 33-year-old brain was that's also a game dev critic, so I can't play games without like criticizing them. It sounds really bad.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
But I was going, okay, so they're delivering narrative through like the characters' spoken dialogue. They're then switching to like a comic where you've got to read the panels and there's sound effects, and then you've got in-game animation with no dialogue, and then sometimes you've got cut scenes that aren't controllable with no dialogue. And I'm just like, my mind was just like, shit, how are they, like, what the fuck's going on? Like, how are they trying to deliver this narrative in the first 5 minutes? I don't understand. This was just trying to get up the narrative. And it's basically, there's a girl. She's lost her memory. There's a magical cat. You can change gravity. Like, it doesn't take that long to establish those facts.
Right.
Well, she's a superhero because she can control gravity. And then this evil thing comes along and nearly kills a kid. Does kill a policeman, nearly kills a kid. Spoilers, sorry. But it's like, it's the intro to the game, so whatever. And yeah, that just was just like, no, not for me. The main thing was that the bumper was a bit clunky, like figuring out how to do it. I didn't get it within the first 5 minutes, and I was like,
yeah, it's
just too noisy. I just want my mind's in a state now where I'm in pretty much the most stressful time that anyone can have in their whole lives, going from a house move. And so I just wanted a chill out game.
So Gravity Rush was not it.
The Gravity Rush is brilliant if you want to be distracted and dive into something and have bright flashing colors. And, the fact that they've got narrative being delivered in all those different formats is impressive.
Yeah.
But it was just too noisy for me.
Yeah.
So, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, because I played this game on the Vita back in the day, like this, because it was originally a Vita game before I think it was ported over to the PS4, and yeah, I remember enjoying it a lot on handheld because, like, I think the way that the gyroscope sort of worked, like you had to actually aim with it and stuff, like where you were reversing gravity to fly towards, sort of thing. So the flow of it felt really good. But I remember playing it on a PlayStation controller, it didn't feel as great. It just felt like a very bog standard sort of like action adventure, like Japanese game. So it wasn't as fun, but great game for the Vita. But yeah, I'm not so sure if it translated over fully to the PlayStation 4. So it's probably it's interesting that you sort of said them things, because like I kind of felt that when I was replaying the remastered version on the PS4. So yeah, interesting.
Also, you know, the cat's like magical and got like stars on it or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I was just in the wrong mood, I think. I took offense to the fact they didn't do something funky and crazy with the shader of the cat, so that every time the cat moved from one place to another, the stars would animate across it. Like, I don't know why they didn't go with that direction. But now that I know it's a PS Vita game, fair enough, because they wouldn't have had as much.
Yeah, I'm curious about
in
the
their
second
toolkit.
game, because
it's not a game that you'd think I would play if anyone knows my kind of
right. You're not a Japanese
games.
You're not a Japanese gamer, that's for sure.
No, I'm not really a Japanese gamer,
Right.
but so that was a bit out the box for me. And then the second one was also equally as out the box, but one that I'm starting to really enjoy now.
Okay.
It's F1 2020,
Really? Okay.
which is on the PlayStation now. So it's free. So I'm like streaming it. Like I could have downloaded it, but I thought I'd just stream it. Streaming is a bit slow.
Oh wait,
but...
yeah. I mean, you were talking about like the whole F1 races the other week, so this makes sense. Like you're into this sort of stuff.
Yes, there is definitely beyond the objective participation for sure.
Okay.
But it's totally different in that. Well, I guess it's similar to like football games in that you in this game, F1 2020, you can like be a player where you're like new. You don't. I thought you just take on like one of the other drivers.
Yeah.
But no, you like create a driver, and the story is that you must be a multimillionaire for some reason, and you are a driver that creates your own team.
Oh, okay.
And that used to happen back in like the 70s and the 60s and things like that, but it doesn't happen now. So it's totally rubbish, like in terms of story and believability and stuff. And so you get in interviews specifically with like, oh, so you own the whole team, and you know you're the driver. How is that working for you? It's like that never happens. That sort of stuff, that's a bit wooden, but people don't buy those games. Like people don't buy racing games for the story. You know, well, they buy it for the story of the races and how the races work and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, I thought I'll just play a race. I'll just do a race because I've got like an hour before I want to go to bed. I'll just do a race. And it was tough, and you do 3 practice sessions. You can create your own team and the colors and logos and all this sort of stuff. You go through some like options, and you do practice 1, 2, 3, and then you do qualifying, which is a flying lap, and you get 1 chance, but you can reverse time, so it's fine. And then you do the race. And the first race was really like, I went from like the last position because I was just absolutely terrible, and then I went up into the points for like I think I got like P10, like, so I was in the points within 1 race. So that meant I'd overtaken loads of people in this race, and it was so fun because I just got a speck of a few nice overtaking bits by the end of it, because I played for a few hours by the end of the actual end of the race. So like every new track, it's like a few hours worth of playing, because you do 3 qualifying, 3 practices, a qualifying and an actual race. And I'm playing on like the smallest scale. You can do the whole season with all the tracks, and I'm only doing 10 tracks. I've now done 3 tracks, which means I must have been playing it quite a lot actually for me, considering I'm quite busy. So I must have played it 3 different times. Yeah, I have done. And man, I don't play these games, but it's really fun.
Yeah.
Like even getting into the really geeky nitty gritty, like tire management. When you go around corners at high speed, you can feel in the controller that you've scrubbed some of the wear off the tires. It's that tactile, it's that precise. And if you go around a slow corner, you feel a little bit of a rumble. If you go around a really high speed corner and slam the brakes on, you really feel more of a rumble. And I was really surprised about that, like how much of the actual visceral experience is coming through just a rumble controller. So that was really interesting. And you can get really into nitty gritty detail. Like you can change how much fuel you have on the car, all sorts of stuff. So you can get really geeky if you're that way inclined. If you're like me and you just wanted to kill some time, it totally took my mind off everything. Like I was totally into the whole, right, I've definitely
did its job of immersion and
Yeah.
escapism and stuff, right?
I've got to get the breaking points. I've got to figure out this track. I've got to learn the track. I've got to figure out, and then by the third, and also the fact that I get this sense of accomplishment. So when I did my first race, qualified last but ended up P10. I've done the third race. I qualified first. I pretty much coasted for most of the actual end race, and then at the last race I mucked up the rewinds, and then it was a real battle for me to retain first place, and it that happens in races.
Sort of thing.
Yeah. So there was that. Yeah, there was that thing.
It's interesting that they're not exactly, well, they are simulating like the way that the driving experience is, but they're simulating the actual like internal politics of like what the race is, sort of thing, like the whole management of different things. That's sort of fascinating by itself, but
yeah, you can do research and development and choose what you want more downforce, want more engine management, want more durability, all this sort of that stuff. I just do, and a lot of stuff you can skip. You can if you want to, it can be a game about research and development, because you can skip the races, you can skip all of the driver interaction stuff, and you can just spend your time looking at research and development of your team and your car, how you're doing, look at your budget, what can you spend it on, skip the races. Based on your decisions, you'll come up with a position. So it's quite versatile in that respect. So, so for me, I was expecting it not to be as enjoyable as it was. So I was really surprised by that.
Interesting.
Because I don't play racing games. I played Gran Turismo back in the day.
If you do pick up an Xbox, like I can't recommend Forza enough.
Forza Horizon.
Like it's like that was a game that really caught me out of nowhere, because I wasn't like I'm like you. I don't play racing games. I don't really play sports games either. I'm just not into them. I'm not the crowd to sort of get them. Like, more power to people if they enjoy them. I'm just not that sort of gamer. But yeah, there was just something like Forza Horizon is sort of, it just takes the it takes the whole driving experience thing and it makes it fun almost. Like you can tweak it and make it nitty and gritty, and you can like set up your desk to have the steering wheel and all the gears and all that sort of stick, and like feel it, like you were saying, like when you hit the corners and stuff, like you can really feel all that. So like you can tweak it to that, or you can just dial it completely down and just like, okay, this is an arcade
just
game.
Just play arcadey.
Yeah, and blast through like old like Yorkshire walls and stuff, and there's bricks flying everywhere, and you're a stuntman on a movie set now, and there's not a scratch in the car, and you're just flying over the hills and stuff. Yeah. And it's just like, it's great. Like it was actually a really enjoyable game for that respect. Yeah. So it's interesting that you're liking the other end of that spectrum almost. Like you're liking the fact that your tires have wear on them and stuff.
Yeah, and by the start of the you can totally tell the difference when you've got softs or mediums on. Like you go for a pit stop, you can totally tell. Like I thought I wouldn't be able to tell. I'm not a very good driver. I wouldn't be able to pick it up. I've only played like arcade type games, but it's totally that good of a simulation that it tells the difference. I did play Burnout Paradise. Was it Burnout Paradise? Yeah.
Yeah,
that was a cool racing game. Yeah, that was kind of like open plan racing game where they'd have the different tracks just in this open world. Yeah,
I mean the only thing about those games, like I wish they had more like fast travel abilities in them, because like obviously like the whole point of the game is you just got to drive there and stuff. Yeah. But like sometimes like on Forza Horizon anyway, like the maps are so damn big. Like getting to the other side is just like, oh Jesus Christ, it's literally going to take me about 15 minutes to drive over there.
Yeah.
But along the way, you will like inevitably like run into something else that catches your interest as well along the way, and then that's the whole point. So you get lost in it. So,
and you're subconsciously learning the tracks as well. Exactly, when you get from point A to point B, like in GTA, like you play it so often that you start to know
the
maps.
Streets.
When you do the different missions, some of them are some of them you need to do driving, and because you've been doing bank robberies left, right, and center, I know there's an intersection coming up, just subconsciously. So. Yeah, I've been playing that and really surprised, and I might play some tonight.
Nice.
Who knows? Well, I've definitely got to look at the audio for the audio podcast version of probably last week's.
Maybe.
And do that first.
Yeah.
But after that, I might play some more F1 2020, and 2021 is out, I think, as well. So
yeah, I think it's probably just come out. They normally release those pretty early anyway, so like normally before the year's even out. So
the only thing I was surprised about, like, I was expecting not to enjoy it, just have like that was a racing game, go to bed, blah blah blah, play a next game. I was expecting it to look good and not have a good experience. I was surprised about how bad it looked, like graphically, compared to what we saw, for Forza and stuff, and other trailers for racing games. So interesting that was the
bit of a backwards way of going into it.
Yeah. But maybe I'm a racing game guy now.
Yeah,
maybe that's another genre of game I've added to my tool belt.
It's one of those things, like, I run into this all the time, but like every time I see a trailer for a farming simulator or something, I'm always looking at that game. I'm just like, who the hell is playing that? And why is it so popular? And why it's like there's so many trailers for this thing? And like the new trailer for the new farming simulator game is just... like the production value on it is way too high for what like that game is, there's like all these crazy like action shots of this like woman like plowing fields and stuff, like no pun intended, and just,
action shots.
Right,
are you sure that's a farming simulator?
Yeah, and
the production value was great, it looked real.
Yeah, I mean the trailer is just absolutely like bananas. I'm actually gonna find it and let people see it somewhere.
That's good. Make sure the audio's working. Do you reckon that it's really popular because of Clarkson's farm? Do you reckon there's
like that was the thing that did it, right? And I was thinking about that, and just the whole aspect of that. Because he did
the farrows wrong, and now people who play the farmer simulator can understand the pain of getting your farrows wrong.
Right, and people understand like what the sort of like the hardships and what the appeal of farming is, I guess. Like, and just this like the CG trailer for this was just absolutely crazy, just like how high it is. Like production value,
but isn't farming simulator, isn't that the absolute epitome of what's it, value? Is it value? Oh god, what's the thing I'm trying to think of? Like Farmville, asset management.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like Roller Coaster Tycoon, or
like, just simulators in general, like hospital simulators, like SimCity, like simulators.
Farming is another one that's like totally real. You have to manage your assets, and it's crazy amounts of sums of money, but crazy amounts of work done and crazy amounts of square footage to get X amount of yield. And
which is great. Like, to me, it sounds insane, but like at the same time, like I can understand it, because like it scratches that itch of stuff like a Stardew Valley, where people like are trying to get like the perfect rows for their certain crops and stuff, so they can like get enough out of the day, and they're just got these crazy farms and all this sort of stuff. But like, and that's just like the soft version of that. But then you watch some like Clarkson's farm, and then you see like these crazy like people that are just absolutely obsessed with this sort of stuff. Like, the winter's coming in and I need to get this yield out and stuff. I'm just like, this is insane. And then you see these...
play it, I bet you'll really enjoy it.
This is the worry, right? So like I'm kind of like concerned, like, should I ever like actually ever download one of these games? Because I might enjoy it.
Yeah. Is it on
I think it's
Xbox
on Game Pass. Yeah, I think it's on Game Pass. So
this is the thing.
Yeah.
Game Pass is going to be revolutionary. It's going to get people to play games they would never have bought in a shop.
This is the power of it, I think.
And, I would never buy a farming simulator game in a shop.
Right.
With a human.
Not in a million years.
Never. Never would do it.
Yeah.
Same with Gravity Rush.
Yeah, Gravity Rush.
Yeah, I would never pick that up off the shelf and go to a person and say, yeah, I'd like to buy that, please. But I've paid a subscription. I've got nothing to lose. I've got some time to burn. I've heard this is good. Give it a go.
Yeah, even when it isn't good, sort of thing. Like sometimes you're just curious, like morbid curiosity or whatever it is. Just like you just kind of want to check it out just in case. You never know. But I've definitely had them situations where I've been going through like Xbox Game Pass where I've picked up or I've downloaded certain games. With that sort of assumption, like, this is probably going to be terrible, but I've been curious to check this out, and I didn't really want to put money down on it. Too bad we don't have more demos, but this, I think, like Game Pass sort of replaces the concept of what a demo is, which is a good thing. Like, I think this is great.
It's not even try before you buy because you've already bought it.
Yeah, you just try.
You've paid for the subscription, so you already have that content available.
Yeah, and it works both ways as well. Like, there's certain games which I was really excited for. but then I actually like you download it off Game Pass and like, all right, cool, I've been waiting for this one. This one's going to be great. And then you play it and you're like, wow, this is actually really not that great, and I'm really not enjoying it right now. And this is like, I'm glad I didn't put money down on this. So it works both ways in that respect.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most powerful things for it. And I've definitely had them moments of like, crap, this game isn't as good as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I totally had that with Bloodborne. Like, I would have bought that in a shop. It looks like my thing. It's critically acclaimed. You said I'd like it, so it's your fault, really, Vin. But
right, it's always my fault. Yeah,
didn't pay any money out, so
no, that's fine.
But what have you been playing?
What have I been playing? So yeah, I keep doing this thing, and you'll understand this more than anything. But like, if you're working on a game at any point, like anyone that's listening to this, if you're working on a game and you start playing an indie game, and it's specifically an indie game,
okay,
you feel guilty for playing the indie game, but you don't feel guilty for playing a AAA game, because the production value is so different that it's like, okay, I could never make anything like this, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, and you sort of you consciously place it in a different place in your head, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But an indie game, it just makes you want to work on your own stuff. So it's hard to play a lot of the time.
Right.
Do you ever have that happen?
I guess so. Well, I mean, I'm making one indie game. It's the only indie game I've made.
Right.
And it's not it's like a mashup between some other games, but it's more like it's its own thing. It's nothing I've ever played before, at least.
Yeah.
So, like, if I played Thomas Was Alone, would I feel guilty? No, because I'd think that it was like research.
Yeah, that's fair.
And back at uni, when I was spending all my money on like HD versions of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2,
yeah,
like 70 quid for a game, I would say, yeah, it's research. It's research. Just, it's fine. You can pay that much money when you have got like no money as a student.
Yeah, but I've basically been doing that. Like, it's
just been playing lots of indie games. But isn't it research? Are you taking bits and pieces? Or
I am, but that concerns me as well, because I don't like doing that, because I don't want to basically just make a clone subconsciously almost, So I have to. I'm trying to like spread out as much as I can. But yeah, I actually, like, this week, a game that I've been putting off for quite a while, I finally got around to, and that was Hollow Knight. I finally got around to this thing.
Oh, I want to play that one.
So a lot of people have been talking about this over the years. Like the podcast I used to do, Coffee and Beer cast with Evan Piotrowski, like, he used to talk about this game all the time, and I remember like the week that he played it, he just constantly was talking about it, and he really, really enjoyed it. And now I can see why. Like, I've started playing it. I've gotten to the second world. It's a great little Metroidvania game. Like, if people haven't played it, like, it from the trailers and the images and stuff, like, a lot of people might think that it's a lot more simple than it is, but it's a lot deeper than that, and it's a great game, to be fair. Like, and just the animation alone is fantastic. I've been having a blast, but it's been really difficult, like I was mentioning before. But I get half an hour into it, and I'm like, oh man, I really want to go and work on my own stuff now. So I literally get up and I go and work on my own stuff for an hour, and then I come back and play that game, and it's just like this weird sort of loop that I've gotten into. But yeah,
I guess it's different for me, because with me, I don't know if it's like this for you, but for me, I have set times that I can do things. So like after work, if I've done all the clearing up and stuff, I can do some indie game.
Yeah, because
it still feels like I'm in work mode. Like, after work and I've done food and cleared up and everything, I wouldn't go, right, now it's time. I'm in this mode of like getting stuff done that I need to do for the day. Now I will pencil in some like downtime.
Right.
And like, now I can play that game I've been looking to get around. Like, I only play games like in the evenings, really, when I don't feel like working on my indie game, because I definitely don't feel like working on an indie game in like evening time.
That makes sense.
It has to be a daytime work mode, like daytime brain, for sure.
Right.
So maybe that's different for me. Like, I've got different.
No, I think because I used to have that when I used to work freelance in the United States. Like, I would go through them phases as well, and I would have, because I would work throughout the day, and then in the evening it would just be video game time. Like, I would just play games then, and then I would only work on stuff during the day. And the good thing about freelance is, like, you might get a job where you work for 1 week, like only a couple of days of that week, and then the rest of the week you either have free time, or you just, like, you've earned enough money from that week, basically, from the jobs that you've done, where you can just work on your own indie stuff during the day. So you're pretty much like a full-time indie dev at that point.
Yeah.
which is great. You know, I really like that side of it. But yeah, I know what you mean by having like the set time periods. Like it's always nice to have that sort of stuff for sure.
Do you have that thing where, like, you'll just be trying to get to sleep, and then a game idea or a mechanic will just pop into your head, and you need to get up and write it down?
So
no,
Tuesdays, you're talking about Tuesdays, right?
We've talked about this.
Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Oh, there is Thursdays and Fridays as well. I think that happens sometimes over the weekend. But
yeah, that's been happening with me recently. I actually did an update on my my YouTube channel.
You did. I saw this. I haven't seen the video yet, but I saw the thumbnail like this morning. I was like, oh, I'll give that a watch later. But yeah.
Well, thanks for your support, Vin.
Okay. I'll get around to it.
That's a great advert for my channel. What was I saying? I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah. So basically, I'll give you the recap now, Vin. So
sure.
Basically, I'm shocked at my own brain that I've been working on my indie game for like a year now, and I'm still coming up with mechanics. And I might have mentioned this last week, but even like the other day, I don't know if you can see this. Basically, like all those ideas are totally 100% new.
Yeah.
And I'm shocked at myself that I come up with them, because I thought that I'd thought of everything I can do with the very, very limited set of mechanics that I've got in the game.
Yeah.
So that's all existing stuff that exists already coded in the game. I've just got to do timings, trigger points, and everything else is area and animation. One of them is just totally a rip-off from Sonic, where you've got spinning, rotating things that can attack you. Like, I have no idea why I never thought about that. My game is very simple. There's an enemy ball that can... Oh, very good then. Thank you. There's an enemy ball that can, kill you if it touches you. And to have them spinning around themselves, like some of them do in Sonic, I don't know why I hadn't thought about that. I thought about them spinning around like a world, and you have to go through the maze and stuff, and sometimes they'll hit you. But, like, just bizarre. I thought that everything was done, so that was really weird.
No, that's good. That's the exciting time though. Like when you get through like so much of the game, like once you sort of lock the idea off in your head, like if a feature comes in that like shoves its way in, basically, it has to be a really good feature at that point to really like break through that wall of like, no, it doesn't really fit here anymore. Like I'm just adding to the pile at this point. Like, oh, I shouldn't add that. Like if it breaks through that wall to get in, it must be a good idea, sort of thing. So that's exciting in and of itself, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you had that. I'm not sure if we talked about this before, if this was the pre-show or not, but you say that you don't write them down because if they're a good enough idea, you remember it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it depends what it is. Like because I try to let ideas for certain games fester in my head, like without writing them down for as long as I can, basically, until the point where it's like I'm starting to really forget stuff. And when I do get to write them down, it's then I just start writing a game design document. I'm actually going through that this week. I'm actually writing out a GDD for like one of my game ideas because I'm finally hitting the point where it's just like, okay, there's enough here to get down on paper now. So and I've done that a few times. Like I've literally got like, I think I'm up to 6 game design documents I've got fully written out now, like for games that could be made. It's just I just haven't either gotten around to them because the scope's too big, or like I think this one's probably gonna have too much of a big scope, so I might have to find like a second developer or something to help me out, like just on the code side, and so I can sort of hash these ideas out. But yeah, I mean it is interesting, like the phases that you go through where you probably shouldn't write certain things down. Like if it's a really tiny, insignificant, small feature, like don't put that in, just ignore it, because then if it comes back later, then you know it's worthy of going into the design document when you eventually do write it. But them sort of things.
So that's different, because I know I should have, but I haven't written a games design document.
You shouldn't. Like if you're an indie dev, you really shouldn't. You should just experiment your way to victory. Basically, that's the best way to make an indie game. Like, and that's something that people fall on a lot. Like they spend so much time planning, so much time like talking about what they're going to do, that when they eventually get to it and they implement the feature that they've been thinking about this whole time, and then they realize like, oh shit, this sucks. Like this is actually not a good thing. Yeah. But it's so cemented in their mind that they have to keep it in there. That's dangerous.
That's a really good point. Like if I'd have written it out right at the beginning, it would have been a game about going through mazes, and each level was a different maze. And
Right.
yeah, there'd be different features and things happening, very, very similar to what's happening in the game now.
Yeah.
But primarily it'd be a game about mazes. And if I'd have stuck to that, it'd have been a really, really bad game.
Yeah, I mean, and it's that sort of thing. Like, you don't want to cement a bad idea. That's the main sort of takeaway from it. Not to say that nobody should write notes down or anything like that. Everyone's different. The way people work.
Yeah.
I think the thing that I found that works for me is just not writing too much down too soon, sort of thing. Just let it fester in my head a little bit, because they evolve and they change and they twist and they become better ideas, or they might merge with something else. It's like, oh my god, that is 20 million times better. Like, why didn't I think of that before? And just when you write it down, it's sort of, you're immortalizing ideas at that point, because it becomes something concrete other than just a thought. And it sounds really ambiguous and vague and like, hey man, sort of thing. But you've got to, like, that's just the deal when it comes to ideas.
I think something does happen in your head, possibly even chemically. Like when it goes through the process of the different part of your brain that has the whole, production, like writing, creating something, making marks. It is going through a different part of your brain, so you think of it differently when it's just loose in your head.
I think so too. Yeah, I think.
And it gives you a fresh perspective just by doing that simple thing of writing it down, for sure. And that's why I have the notebook and I write them down. And the fact that I'm not very good at drawing, I actually really like. Well, I hated it at uni because it's like an arms race of like how quick can I get to being what I consider to be good at drawing.
I know what you mean.
As quickly as possible, and you're like comparing yourselves to all your peers, and it's horrible. But I love the fact now that I draw really small on purpose, tiny little scribbles, because I love the organic shapes that come out of the back of them, and the fact that my game's about circles and a lot of it's kind of like organically inspired.
Yeah.
Because definitely didn't want to do grid system of like up, down, left, right, squares. I wanted it to look completely, totally different. That kind of lends itself to it, and it has a unique some of those lovely happy accidents, Bob Ross. That means that some of it influences the actual playability of the game, of stuff that I wouldn't have thought of. So I love that as well.
Yeah, I agree.
And you wouldn't get that with a computer and a tablet either.
No, not at all.
Also, you liked the thing I posted on Twitter about my update for my game, and a lot of people recently have been liking it and saying this looks good. That is amazing on Twitter. There's been a lot of negative stuff on Twitter and a lot of
I mean, there's certain, I've been saying this for years about there's certain platforms for different things. It depends what you're working on. So the concept art sort of community of people will always flood to Instagram, because that is the place to be, because it's still images. It makes sense, really. It's still images. You can crop them down, put multiple images in, and then people like it and stuff like that. And it's a great community for concept art specifically. But for indie game devs, I've noticed that Twitter is the place for them, because
sharing ideas and
sharing ideas. If you upload I think the best thing that Twitter does over everyone else is GIFs. Like the fact that you can post a GIF, it makes the world of difference. Not even a video specifically. Like if you can figure out how to make a GIF for your game, just little snapshots of it, that stuff generates so much stuff.
I should be doing GIFs.
Yeah, GIFs.
I keep doing little clips. I should be doing GIFs, because GIFs auto play, don't they?
Yes.
Damn it!
And they're super small as well. But I mean, it's but video as well. Even because
I do videos.
If people have because the bad thing about Twitter, I guess, or the good thing at the same time, is the fact that you can turn off autoplay for videos. So if someone's scrolling through and they come across a thumbnail that's got a play button on it, you would have to physically click on that. So it's an extra step for people to see it. But for a GIF, it's just automatically animating and moving, and it might make people stop. Like, oh, cool, I'm on the game dev hashtag or the indie dev hashtag, and it's like, oh, that looks interesting. Carry on. And then you get kicked up by the algorithm, and then suddenly you get another 10 followers from that. And that stuff's important. And you just do not get that on any other platform, really. That ease of video and GIFs. Like Facebook has become just this weird glob of just there's way too much code running in that website now, to the point that everything feels a bit sluggish almost. It's not as quick and snappy as it used to be, unfortunately. So it's really not the place for us. But for indie devs, yeah, Twitter is definitely the place to be.
It's definitely a place to be. Someone actually compiled a list of their, like, it is an indie dev doing some indie stuff, so yeah, you could say it's self-promotion, but they spent the time and collected some people that are doing some stuff at the moment and posting at the moment. My name was on the list of those people, like indie people that this person liked, and like shared it out. And even just before we came on, this was like last week, it was beginning of this week, actually, just gone,
right?
Because otherwise I would have talked about it last week. And even today, just before we came on, someone like retweeted that tweet, and yesterday or today I got like a comment from someone going, "This looks good," and just have someone like type that tiny little message, "This looks good,"
makes a difference. Yeah,
so gratifying. And I was like, shit, when was the last time I had like an affirmation of what I'm doing is pleasing to someone? Like, for me, that's been rare. Like, that hasn't happened for years, mainly because I've been, totally out of the game, totally out of the industry.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I take that. Yeah, I take that stuff for granted, I guess, because like not because like blow my own trumpet or anything like that. I don't mean this in an egotistical way. It's just like the actual industry of what a concept artist does. It's just we're constantly putting out images and we're constantly getting feedback, either good or bad, from people. Yeah. So it's something that I'm very much used to. Not to say that thousands upon thousands of people look at my stuff. They don't. It's just that constant feedback loop. I guess like I've never really fallen out of it. So yeah, it's interesting like to hear you talk about someone that's like fallen back into it after a while.
Yeah, and it feels I didn't realize how much of an effect that would have. It's like it properly perked me up. And it was really great. And the thing is, it's like you say egotistical, and it's like, yeah, I guess it is egotistical, but like we create art for people, and the only way that we know that is if we get feedback. And so it's like,
I agree. Yeah,
is that ego, or is that just artists being artists? Like, artists create for people.
Yeah, I guess react. You're right. Yeah, it's something I don't really think about too much. Yeah, because I don't know, like I'm in this weird situation because as a concept artist, you're not making art for other people, really. You're just making it for internal production teams. It's just we happen art? Yeah, right. Then we happen to release it later on so people can check it out and stuff. But ultimately, like, the main goal of it is to keep it internal. It's not for people to see it, pretty much.
Yeah,
so
it's a tool to create a game, which is art in itself. But you're adding your brushstrokes to the final piece, if you like.
Yeah, exactly. So it's an interesting aspect to it where I don't really consider anything that I do mine, like, per se. So it's to be egotistical about it is kind of difficult because it's not. Yeah. It's not really yours anyway, unless it's a personal.
I'm a no tour in that I'm going, I'm going to make an indie game. It's going to be by myself. I'm going to do it all myself. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that as well. Like that's a massive achievement to be able to like release a game by yourself, and I totally see the appeal of it. Like people like work hard for many, many years to get to that point where they can do that.
To have creative control of stuff. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But we talked about this before. Like this, now is the only time that the technology, I guess, for me, is viable in any case. So
right, and there's that too as well. Like we're getting to the point where people can do that, so it's great. It's a really exciting time for indie developers, anyway. But,
and the market as well. The market's big enough for it to be worth my while. Yeah. Even though I'm not doing it for like the money, but if there wasn't that option there, I wouldn't be doing it. Yeah. If I get some beer tokens out of it,
Yeah, indie games is strange because like there's so many different avenues to make money from it. Basically, like if you get popular enough in the actual making of the game, like there's people that have Patreons that just the Patreon money is their income, and they put the game out and no one buys it outside of their Patreon sort of audience
of like making the game, of like how to make this game. They do the Patreon of that.
Yeah, or not even the teaching of it, because like I think some people are just naturally drawn to people doing something that makes them passionate, so they just want to see the process of doing it, not to learn from it or anything. They're just excited by the fact that people are you're watching these people like go through the motions, because like sometimes like the people on Patreon and stuff, like the actual content itself is free, like, or you can get it in other means, or you don't need to be a part of Patreon to support them in any way. You're interested in the process of it. And it's just like the actual journey of it, I think people are interested in as well. So people make money off indie devs through indie games doing that. People sell obviously like games that break out and they're a massive success. And then there's just people, like the vast majority of the people are in the middle that just like I finished one game, it makes 20 grand, which really isn't enough to cover the cost, but it's enough to sustain you to make the next one. And then just enough, like even if it's a part-time job at first, so like the first game that they put out is able to like that let them cut down to 15 hours a week at their day job. And then they're making their second game, and then the second game gets out twice as fast, and then the third game is the same, and then like by the fifth game you've got this catalog which people are just buying from the back catalog, and then you can quit and you're just like you're coasting through, until like you hit your success. So there's so many different avenues. There's so many different avenues.
It never plays out like that. It's never linear. It's never linear. I don't think anyone's had a linear success. No, I don't think so either. I think most people either crash and burn after their first game, or they hit a success after, or the fourth can just die and you
and then it stops that loop of like you being able to have income, and then it just it can all be over, sort of thing. So it's a very unstable industry, but it's a very gratifying industry when you get like the random gamers come out of nowhere and they're like, yo, this is great, like thanks for making this. You just like you're on top of the world, you think it's so gratifying compared to like, the people at McDonald's might be earning more than you or something at some point, during development. But do they get to go home and be proud of what they did? No. And that is way more important to me as someone that is making this sort of stuff. I mean, I obviously don't speak to everyone because some people are just trying to make indie games to make money. But I think that if that's the only goal that you're going into it with, then you're going to have a rough time, basically.
Yes. I mean, I guess... Firstly, the only thing I'd say is I think people can have passion for working McDonald's, but
no disrespect to McDonald's.
It's not their art. I think the difference is it's not their art. And then equally, the only thing I'd pick up about that is I don't think anyone has made an indie game without getting some sort of artistic satisfaction out of it. No, they do. No, you're right, because people do just rip off other games and reskin it.
Yeah, and that's a huge industry as well.
Without even doing their own art. So you're right. Some people do. But it's my dream and hope that everywhere in the indie space people are getting some sort of artistic satisfaction out of it, because that's what it's all about. Really drives me. That's like part of my passion is creating something to release, to exist in the world.
I mean the only problem which I have with indie industry at the moment, it's not so much with the development side, it's more about the publishing side of how we get certain games out to people. It's because
it's tough.
There's no compartmentalization. Sorry, I couldn't get my words out then. There's no like way to segregate this stuff out properly, like between the different types of games. Unfortunately, it's just indie is its own genre, which is dangerous. Like I don't think we should be doing this as an industry. I don't think it's fair to developers whatsoever, and I don't think it's fair to the great games that everyone's missing out on, because there are some stellar games which people just do not touch because they're just put in the bucket with the rest of the indie games. And the truth of the matter is, like, a good 90% of the indie games on Steam are trash. Like, unfortunately, that's just the blunt end of it. Like, if we're being honest about it. But there's that 10% that's just trying to like swim above all of that trash to get to the top, and then you're competing with all these other games that are just completely different to you, which nobody can see because you're just in the ocean of just indie sort of thing. Which I don't think that's fair. Like, we need to figure out like I hope like a new marketplace comes along that is a competitor to Steam, that is super friendly to indies, that is actually compartmentalizes these out properly. To the point that, like, okay, I like indie games, but I like action-adventure indie games. I like Metroidvania indie games. So you can go into the store and find specific things. I know you can do that on Steam. I know you can filter stuff out, but people don't. That's the thing. It's just how it shows up in the store is not... it's not a very fair system to indie developers, is my point. And I think we need to sort of, as an industry, figure that out, because we're missing out on a lot of stuff, and I don't think it's fair that a lot of these people have put... years upon years of their life just like to not get the exposure on the other end, and then ultimately fail financially because for a game that should be a success, that should be great. I'm not obviously talking about the games that are bad and don't deserve to float to the top because they're not great, but there's plenty of games out there that do deserve a bit of a better shot, unfortunately, but they just don't get it.
It's weird. Like, there's this, like, since making a game, I've discovered that what I think my game is in the niche subcategory of indie game. So it's like an indie game, niche game, because it's quite unique, and you could draw similarities to other things, but it's got lots of things which are unique to it.
Sure.
And it's weird that exists, because in my head I just think it's an indie game, but yeah, you're right, there's so much just crap that's floating in that same pool that you need to try and make yourself different.
Yeah, it's rough because people always give the argument like indie games are, because there is a lot of crap, that's the reason why. And it's like there's a lot of crap AAA games out there, but we're still able to segregate that stuff out properly,
Yeah.
And we don't give the same, we don't apply the same mindset to AAA games or AA games even, like just
I guess
the bigger games.
The difference is money. Like money talks. Like if you've got money,
yeah, it's the market power, absolutely.
You sell it, and then if you've got great marketing budget, we both know who we're going to talk about. Great marketing budget, promises X, Y, and Z, and then the game comes out and it's buggy piece of crap.
Yeah.
With real strong elements of a great game underneath it.
I don't think you're being fair to Ghost of Tsushima, man. Like I think that game is a lot better than you thought.
One of my biggest views is like a buggy Ghost of Tsushima, the bath scene where the guy's leg is like here. That's like one of my best. That's like one of my best performing videos. So it is Ghost of Tsushima. Talk about it was Cyberpunk, but
yeah.
I love the bugs in Ghost of Tsushima because I played it before, like one of the patches. So I was just super enjoying it. It was that perfect combination of still totally enjoying the game, it's totally into it, and then when the bugs happened, I just thought it was hilarious.
One of my favorite like bugs in Ghost of Tsushima, like I'd never seen it because I think I picked the game up like a week after it came out. I tried to like leave it for the first patch to come out for these things, and like week one patches, like pre-week one patch of Ghost of Tsushima, there was a bug where Jin was like his hands got messed up from the bow or something. And he was just like doing this thing, like I'm gonna find it so people can like check it out while we're talking about it. But yeah, I just remember like the crazy hand thing.
On my YouTube channel, there's a few of them, like the bugs from Ghost of Tsushima. Like I think it's a playlist as well. Just putting it out there, Vin. Just trying to gain some traffic.
Plug.
What was I going to say? Yes, we have the technology though. We have the technology in YouTube algorithm and also dating profiles, like the good ones, where you say, what do you like? Type in these few simple questions, and then we'll sift out a load of crap. I mean, the downside is that you lose some gems, but
sure,
that sounds like it's a better way to go than the current system. Or maybe it just needs more money into what we've got going now. They just need to plug more money into it. But then what's the incentive? Would they get more sales? I don't know.
Yeah.
Or just leave it up to content creators. Maybe content creators. That's where they're filling that gap where Steam's got at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah, I've got the video on at the moment. It's just like his hands are locked to like his sides or something. But whenever you get the bow out or something, or you're fighting with the sword, like his hands stay by like where his hips are, and he's just like swinging his sword around like this. But you can still fight with it. Like it's still like it's super, like it's really operational still. But it's just it's so good.
I've got a video of the same thing where he's dancing on a rock because it's the same thing. His hands are by his side and he's dancing on a rock, and he just twiddles around on this little rock. It's hilarious.
Right. I mean, when these sort of bugs happen, like they're just the best. Like
it's
they're
funny.
the best. They're the best bugs.
Cyberpunk, I've seen a few articles where they're going, oh, it's been a year or whatever, and they've had X amount of releases, let's play it, and they're still like game crashing bugs.
Yeah.
Like those are the ones where it's like, no, or like can't finish mission bugs.
This is my line when it comes to like bugs and stuff. Like I'm okay with like graphical issues. Like I've played Bethesda games for years, for Christ's sake. Like I couldn't be a fan of their games if I wasn't okay with some bugs. But if it gets to the point where it's pulling you out of the experience too much, like where it's like, oh, that's a funny Bethesda bug, like the skeleton like glitches against the wall and like disappears and stuff, like whatever, like carry on, no worries. But if you're running through and then suddenly you hit a crash, and then it kicks you to dashboard, and then you got to restart the game. That to me is, I don't like using the expression unacceptable, because I'm not like that privileged to this sort of industry. Like I still think it's a premium industry. Like in terms of like a premium hobby, these aren't essential sort of thing. But
they're expensive games, you know.
Yeah.
It's AAA. They're expensive. They're the top end. They're the big ticket items.
I get that, but I just don't
expect a certain level of playability. For me, it's like when you clip through the world, or like if you're driving along. Like even I saw a tweet today where it's just like, I just thought I'd go for a drive round, and you can't even go for a drive round without a car landing on you and you just falling through the map.
Yeah,
and it's not.
You're talking about Cyberpunk, right?
Cyberpunk. Yeah. No, Ghost of Tsushima when you're in the car.
Oh, okay, right.
At the end. No, what's I saying? Yeah, the thing is, when something happens to you and you're in that, you've got that suspension of disbelief, and something interesting and funny happens within the world, that's hilarious. When something takes you out of that suspension of disbelief, like you clip through the world and you're just falling, that's not something that you can't.
It's not passing you by.
It's not grounded in the world. It's not a funny little episode in that universe that happened.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So it takes it out. So yeah, and if you go to the main screen and you've just thrown out of your moment, it's not fun.
Yeah. I mean, that's not what our line is, I guess. I don't even know how we got on this topic of bugs and stuff, but yeah.
I don't know how, but this started off with me trying to lay it up, so we totally failed. Your character that you've been working on.
Oh, yeah.
Is it Japanese schoolgirl you've been working on?
Yeah, and this sounds like super weeby stuff, but like I'm working on a game idea at the moment, which is, it's purposefully tropey. Like that's the sort of, I've got to put that as a preface so people don't think like I'm this weird.
And
weeb.
you're married before
right.
People get any wrong ideas.
I've got proof and everything. Not that a ring like is proof, but it's just. I'm working on a really tropey Metroidvania game at the moment. I've been working on a character controller for a while, and I've finally gotten to the point where it's usable now. You know, like I could probably drop it into a different game and reskin it and use it for something else. And I'm playing with this idea of a Metroidvania where you actually play as a Japanese schoolgirl, and you are. Yeah, I'm not going to go too much into the idea because I don't want to give it away in case there's like indie devs that are out there. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll take that sort of thing. But yeah, it basically came about from that. But I could probably show it.
Yeah, put it up because I really like it because I've not seen much of this art style from you before because you don't do a huge amount of character work. They're always in the environment, aren't they?
Yeah, I do. I do a lot of environmental work. Like that's my day job. That's my bread and butter, basically. But yeah, I thought I better crack on and do some character work. But yeah, I'll show it now. Actually,
I really like it. And again, it's like in the last month or so, I've seen so many different art styles come out of your portfolio, and I'm like, jeez.
Yeah, I like experimenting with this sort of stuff. Like it's always fun.
In this last even just this last 6 months, like there's been all the Watch Dogs stuff that came out, which I know is old, but it's like that is of a style. And then you've done like your fantasy stuff. Now you're doing like this anime type Japanese schoolgirl.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Like the anime stuff,
geez.
like that's pretty much how it started out. Like when I was a kid, like I would just draw like these Japanese style characters all the time. Like everyone did. Like I'm not a snowflake in this. Like I'm not like unique or anything. But it was always fun doing this. But then when
Vin, I'm not trying to say you were. Jeez.
when it got to the point where I became a concept artist, I was like, there's no need for that sort of stuff. There's no call out for we need a concept we need a concept artist to do like anime characters. And so as soon as you realize that, you just drop it completely. And you just you stop making that sort of stuff. I think the industry has changed a lot now. I think there is like legitimately some jobs for that, but still relatively small to the point that you probably shouldn't pursue it. So it's I don't think it's still really a viable route to go down, but it's fun to sort of experiment with that sort of stuff in a like an indie dev sort of scenario. So it's been fun to go back on that. Yeah,
it's really interesting, like to see you draw that. I'm like, damn, it's like, I didn't know you could do that. Like, I love the hair, I love the glasses, the proportions are really like stylized to a really pleasing level. Like, there's definitely some interesting proportions going on there, which pleasing.
The reason why I wanted to draw out a character is because I want to I basically want to, without sounding too crude about it, but I actually want to cut her up and use it as a spot. I know.
Put her in a blender.
Right, now I'm on the FBI list. But no, I want to break up the body so I can then put it into a spline editor or something where you can rig it up and actually just animate like the actual drawings itself. Because I've never really properly experimented with that sort of stuff. But because I've always done like the pixel art animation stuff.
Because that's what the character controller is that you've done with kind of like Stickman,
right?
Isn't it?
Exactly.
That's pixel art basically.
Yeah, but the good thing about the character controller I've made, it's very adaptive. Like you can put in 3D, you can put in you probably could put in 3D actually. You could put in 3D, you could probably put in any type of different art style, and it wouldn't be specifically locked to pixel art, that's sort of what I was going for. So I wanted to see if I could actually, properly transfer it over. So yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So you've got like 6 games that you could just like start making.
Yeah, it's kind of.
You're a busy guy though. You've got a day job, so.
Yeah, that's too many hobbies, man. What can I say? Too many.
But
hobbies.
yeah, I mean, I just thought I'll do one. My first idea I had is what I'm making.
Yeah.
That's weird, isn't it? I probably should have done a bit more workshopping. But, that part of it was just get it done. The first one is just get the first one out the door. So whatever you come up with, doesn't matter. Just do it and get it out the door. And that's how you learn how to make a game. Just do it.
Yeah.
So that's very much what I'm trying to do. Whereas you seem to be the opposite, where it's like, let's create 6 games design documents.
No, I mean,
I've improving on each one.
Yeah, I mean, I've been through that as well. Like I've been through the whole work on one project to its completion, and I've done that. Like when we finished our last line of retreat, that was a good benchmark for me to sort of figure that stuff out, because like I'm not to take all the credit. We had a team of like 5 different people working on that thing. But it allowed me to be able to see the process from start to finish, and you learn a lot from that. And I think that's important to learn first, absolutely, because the opposite happens way too often. Like the thing that I'm doing now is something that people start first. Like they'll noodle around with one aspect over and over and over again. They'll just be remaking characters over and over again, remaking controllers over and over again, but then they never finish a full game, which is dangerous, because like if you get to the point where you're actually coming up with ideas and stuff, you don't know what's going to trip you up later on. So it's important to sort of figure out the process before you're working on each individual little bit, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm just tripping up solving it. So I'm doing it a really slow roundabout way, but that's because my situation, I don't have anyone else no one's waiting on me. I've got all the time I need. That's bad, because I should have a time limit really, but just it's just a fun thing to do with my spare time. I love working on like the indie game stuff. Like it's something that it's so different from everything else I do. I think that's the main appeal for most people that get into it as well, like yourself. Like you're just working your normal job, and then you come home, and it's just like you said, like you're doing stuff by yourself, and it's just your own world, and you're just in it, and that's it. Nothing else is really, it doesn't influence it or affect it. Everything that you're doing in the game is done by you, and you sort of understand that, and that's the liberation of that is just, it's, you can't knock it really.
Yeah, it's a really great feeling to have that control and freedom, and your say is no one's going to question it. Not to say that there's bad stuff where the opposite happens in day jobs and things, but it's just refreshing to have that different approach, I think.
Yeah,
for sure. You should do a video about your controller specifically, because there's some cool stuff there.
Yeah,
I didn't know how much. I'm not surprised, but I'm surprised I've not seen that much environmental stuff in your controller before. I've definitely looked at your controller Twitter.
Yeah,
but what you're showing is.
I tried to, yeah, I mean,
than I thought.
Yeah, this is the thing. Like, when I work on indie stuff, like I try to stay away from the stuff that I normally do, like as much as humanly possible. So like, normally I work on environmental concept art all day. So the last thing that I want to work on when I'm doing
environmental concept art all day.
Right, exactly. So like the most I've done for my indie game at the moment is just I've done like a couple of blocks in the floor and that's it. Like I haven't touched the background. I'm like, nope, stayed away, not doing it. You know,
but the polish on those pillars is just
right.
Don't know.
But even
like, you've got no context because you're just in the world, so you have no idea how polished they are.
Yeah,
like
but even that crawls me though, because it's sort of like because I needed some context a little bit because it was starting to look a bit for the GIFs and stuff. Like when you put it on Twitter, it looks terrible. Like it's just a cube sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I needed to do something, but even then, like when I finished, I was like, oh, I spent way too much time on that. Like I spent like a whole day on that. And it just I should have just worked on the code a bit more and made it look better, like the actual animation and stuff. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, so you've got like, you could argue, say like a mobile game that's like a quick, simple, easy, it's like free to play with some adverts and whatever.
Yeah,
you've halfway there with the environment art, man.
No, I don't know about that.
You're all the way there with the character controller. And
but again, like I think we've spoken about this before, but the game idea which I've got is unique, but the actual character controller itself is not at all. Like it's very, very part of the course. It's a Metroidvania character controller. You can jump, you can roll, you can hack and slash, you can land on a ledge and pull yourself up. And while all that sort of stuff is cool and like it can certainly look impressive to people, like when you're making that stuff out by yourself and stuff, but ultimately, like to the average Joe that's just like browsing through Steam or whatever, and he comes across this game and he plays it, it's like, yeah, it's super average. Like there's nothing new about it, and I'm painfully aware of that and painfully conscious of that all the time. So when people like see this sort of stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, that looks cool. Like you should, like it could be a game. You should just release that as it is. It's like, no, I couldn't. So I really couldn't. Because it's just really part of the course and very, very bland. Like your game to me is like way more unique in that respect. You know, like in terms of I don't know about the story and stuff like that yet. Thankfully, like I actually want to play the game and enjoy it, like going fresh. But at the same time, like mine's got the opposite problem of like, yeah, it might look flashy and cool or whatever, but it's completely unoriginal. You know, so
I mean, in terms of mechanics though, mine is locomotion, up, down, left, right, but there's no gravity, so that's like less of a thing, but it's not more. And then you've got keys and enemies and doors, and that's it. There's nothing else.
But there's a lot you can do with that. I mean, you could boil every game down to that, you know, like just having a character move around on a screen is technically unoriginal, you know, but you know, it's what you do with that, in my opinion.
Well, I guess my argument is because there'll be so many people watching this. A high percentage of I'll reword that. A high percentage of the people, I guess, that would watch this would think that all you'd need to do, where you've got that character controller, is fine. Lean into the fact that it's generic as heck, but then just write an interesting story. And then
right. I mean, and that's what makes like the game idea which I've got, like the unique side of it is what you do with that mechanic. Then, like what world it's in, like what enemies you're fighting against, like what the story is around that, and things like that. Because we've seen plenty of Metroidvania games which are very similar. Like I was talking about before, I was playing Hollow Knight. Very much the same as like games like Blasphemous, very much the same as games like Castlevania and stuff like that. It's just you're sort of dropped into this world, and it's about what enemies you fight and the story that you sort of slowly uncover as you're going through these places. That's what makes it unique, and that's what makes it interesting. That's why people love these games. But if you strip all that stuff away and you're just a character running around in an empty space, hacking and slashing, rolling and dodging, you know, it's just like, yeah, this is boring as hell. It's generic as hell. Like there's nothing unique about this. So it's very much like the world that it goes into and what it is. But again, like I'm purposefully going into this. The game idea which I've got is very, very tropey on purpose. Like I want to lean into all the anime tropes and make fun of them pretty much. You know, because there's a lot of them, and there's some animes out there that do a really good job of like criticism of the tropes that are in like
being aware of their own,
being self-aware.
Yeah,
and that is like, and some of the animes that you see, like, and if you're into Japanese culture or if you've ever lived there, like I lived there for 4 years, so I was able to pick up a lot of this stuff. And when you see them making fun of their own stuff, it hits like 20 times harder, because it's like that is hilarious, because they know exactly what they're talking about with a lot of that. And if you ever watch an anime out there, it's called Kill la Kill. It's on Netflix. Very, very self-aware anime. But if you're like an outsider looking in, it might be considered like, oh my god, it's just like a really garish sort of like typical anime. Like there's a lot of like half-naked girls flying around everywhere. It's just stupid fights. Like the story doesn't really make a sense. But if you know anything about Japanese culture or anything about anime just in general, just the self-awareness of that show by itself is just, it's absolutely hilarious. But it's very much, that's the sort of line that I want to sort of pursue down, because a lot of people that try this self-aware stuff within the indie scene, they sort of fall flat on their face most of the time. So like I'm hoping that doesn't happen, but yeah, we'll see.
So where are you in this project in terms of like completion? So you watch the Friendship Onion podcast, don't you?
Yep.
So let's do the fruit scale.
Okay.
So like, because you've got six games ready to go. Mm-hmm. Where is this game in terms of gonna release it? Is it like the pip of a strawberry seed, or is it watermelon? as in right. It's release it. I'm gonna release it. It's gonna be a release.
I'd say strawberry. It's about a strawberry right now, I think. No, because like it's interesting because like the game idea is there. Like I'm writing the game design document at the moment, and the majority of this sort of game is the character controller, and the fact that I'm mostly there with that. Like after that, it's sort of a lot of the problems have been solved at this point. Mm-hmm. So it's very much about like designing like the world and stuff like that. So. Yeah. It's further than the seed, but it's definitely it's not a watermelon by any means whatsoever. Like, yeah, my day job is just watermelons all day, so I'm good with that.
That's a great line. We should put that in a clip. Like my day job is watermelons all day.
Yeah,
so come watch the podcast.
Someone will misconstrue that in some way, but yeah, it's still very early days, but I'm a lot more confident about this one purely because I have the character controller, because like that is fun to use and it's fun to move around with that character, and just even jumping from edge to edge and like cutting up some I've got like training dummies and stuff like that, just swinging swords.
You've got the tactile feedback. It feels good.
Yeah, it feels snappy. It feels responsive. Like I'm actually like, you can parry and stuff now, and like when like an enemy is like attacking you, like I've got this dummy that's just like swinging a sword over and over again, and like if you can parry them, then they sort of like get stunned, and you can hit them, and you can only kill them if they're stunned. And like just getting the parry down and like how it feels, like just even solving that problem. Yeah,
so you even got the tutorial levels done.
I wouldn't ever.
Is what you're saying?
Yeah, there will be no training dummies in this game. I put foot down. I'm too much of an eco fan.
Is that two trophy?
Or maybe like the good way of doing it would be to like, okay, like fight this training dummy, and then the training dummy like evolves into a massive like wooden robot that's just like messing you up. Like that would be a good way to lean into it.
And then you go into a coma, and then you wake up, and you've lost all of your equipment.
Yep.
And then you have to start again. And
my character won't have amnesia. I'll give him that. Like amnesia characters, like games industry needs to stop doing that.
Okay, I'm not saying anything.
Right. Is your character got amnesia or something? No, I'm not kidding. Well, no, it can work. It can absolutely work. But it's
actually, it kind of, I don't know. It's not. I don't know. Who knows yet?
It's what you do with the amnesia. Like if you're not just like doing
to fill a plot hole. Yeah, right. It's not to fill a plot hole.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chris is nervous now. Look at his face. Yeah,
we should. Also, I'm leaning into it. I'm doing what you're doing in some way. I'm leaning into some tropes for sure.
Good. Yeah, I think that's healthy. You know, I think we need to do more of that. We need to be a bit more self-aware about this sort of stuff. But yeah.
Yes, that's good. Did you want to do a bit about the fact that there's no news? So we talked about where's Sony,
Sure. Yeah, I mean,
what they're doing.
there's a very very big obvious reason, massive elephant in the room why there is no news, and that's the Blizzard Activision stuff. Heads have started to roll, as the expression goes. People have started to be fired. I'd say, like, people are saying, oh, people have started to retire. Then they're not. They're not resigning. They're not retired. They've been pushed out. They've been fired.
Because you've got to give at least 4 weeks notice. You can't leave within 2 weeks, can you?
Right.
A job. You can't retire within 2 weeks at any job.
No. So there's heads have started to roll. The president of I think Blizzard. Yeah. So it's the president of Blizzard has left, and also the human resource manager. I think it is. I can't remember her name. Name escapes me. I've really tried not to like pay too much attention to this, not in a negative way or anything. I just, after the whole Ubisoft stuff last year, that's where I work. There's a lot of, I'm exhausted from it basically, and I'm sure a lot of other people are as well. And no offense to the victims or anything like that. It's just it's hard to look at this stuff for 2 years straight, pretty much. So
yeah, it's okay to take a step away from news. Like I've done it as well. It's just the wrong. For me, it was just getting too much.
It's heavy, man.
Too much on.
It's really, really heavy.
And so I've started not to read articles and stuff. I definitely will pick it up when the court case stuff. Happens.
I mean that's when it's time to pay attention. Like when the allegations turn into like actual court cases where people can actually like we actually start seeing the facts. We start seeing, because, to be blunt about it, the state of California has probably twisted quite a lot of stuff in the court filing. Not to say anything that is wrong or negative or like not true or anything like that, but they emphasize certain things to make them seem worse than they are, or things like don't like Blizzard haven't done absolutely anything whatsoever to like prevent any of this. Like, and they're basically carving a narrative to present to the thing, so it actually gets to the point where they can go through litigation and things like that. So
that's
like, I understand
system, isn't it?
It's the legal system, and there's nothing wrong with that, and that it's an absolutely viable way to get the case before a judge. So like I get why they did it, but when the actual when it actually turns into an actual hearing, then that's when stuff gets real at that point, basically, for me personally. Like, I'm not, again, dismissing anything. It's just, that's just how I sort of process it. But on the back of that, there's been a lot of, like, obviously a lot of movement. Like, people have started to get fired. Like, people are leaving. The sponsorships for Blizzard, Activision things have started to, like, pull out. So I think it was Coca-Cola, I think, just pulled out, maybe. I think it was Kellogg's as well. There's been a few anyway. Like, you can go and look it up. Like, it's not hidden from the public or anything. You can totally find this stuff online. So stuff's been happening, but because of that, we've had pretty much no news from anything from anyone, because everyone's trying to stay out of the way of the story, especially Activision, because I think, like, at the beginning of August, normally this is when we get an announcement for a new Call of Duty game. Obviously hasn't happened for very good reason. Like, they don't want to be absolutely castrated by the public for
the poor timing of releasing that.
Right. So
so
say what you will, but it's probably a good decision for the marketing team to do that. So but because of that, like, everyone else normally gets out of the way of this in August, but because it hasn't happened, there's been this
gulf,
weird void of nothing happening. But
maybe that's why there's been more indie stuff bubbling up, because that's still been going in away. So maybe that's why I've noticed some more bits and pieces indie wise. That's
a good point. But I think you just mentioned a minute ago, Sony still peeps from this damn company. Like, where the hell are they?
I want some stuff. I want some content.
If I'm being
a podcast.
Yeah, if I'm being blunt about it, I don't think it's happening. I think Sony's.
I was thinking the same. I was thinking they've done enough. I think they think they've done enough to at least call it a draw in terms of, Xbox versus Sony.
Yeah.
E3, getting people hyped up for the console launches, and because we're still having console problems, there's no incentive for them to get more business at the moment. They didn't pay the fees for E3, this, that, or the other, so they've saved their money.
Yeah, I go back and forth on this a lot. I mean, the whole like, yeah, you're right. I think because like the console shortage, it's probably a good thing that they didn't release more games because no one would be able to play them anyway. And it'll just be like this growing frustration amongst gamers of like, I can't get hold of a PS5. Like, why the hell would I like pay any attention to any of this? Like, it's just making them angry. I get that.
If what's it called was out,
Horizon.
If Horizon Forbidden West was out, yeah, I'd be like, I want to get the console. I want to get the console. I want to get the console. So yeah, totally get it.
Yeah, so I get that as a viable like point, but at the same time, like as a PlayStation 5 owner, like I'm on the other side of that fence. Like,
you're like, where's my games?
Right, exactly. So I have that. I have the other side of that experience of like, okay, I've got a console here. I've got a remaster or
Still
remake.
Need to get Ratchet and Clank though.
Yeah, that is one.
Or are you going to get it when it gets reduced?
I'm going to get it when it gets reduced, I think. Like, I'm not... Like, to me, that is no... Not to say, like, the quality of the game isn't high or anything, and people shouldn't pay full price for it, but it isn't a full price for me, personally. Like, it's very much a... Like, that's a sale game for me.
It's not like you're going to read some spoilers on Twitter and it will ruin the experience.
Right. It's very much just a fun, happy game, which is... You know, I'm more than happy to just carry on playing games on... what you call it?
Xbox.
On Xbox Game Pass at the moment. It's just yeah. But there is this weird frustration with me personally because like I'm a PlayStation 5 owner. I would like one of those blockbuster games to come out this year. You know, I would like a God of War. I would like a Horizon Forbidden West. But because all that stuff's been pushed out, obviously because of the pandemic and stuff like that, get it, totally get it, totally understand it, respect it. But it would have been nice. Without the game releases, to have some game announcements at least. You know, I think if Sony were at E3 this year, I think that would have done a massive service to their player base, because right now not only do they have no games to play, they also have no games to really talk about other than the things that's already been shown. So it's kind of like you've got this hunger, this want to see more from Sony, and they've got a lot of stuff coming, absolutely, without a doubt.
Yeah,
but they're just not showing it. So it's weird time, really.
It is odd. And yeah, I guess are you going to jump into the Halo beta, or are you going to wait for...
I'm going to wait. Yeah, I'm not a fan of betas anyway, because they always... I don't know, they do this thing where they make certain weapons like overpowered and stuff, and they haven't figured it out yet, so then everyone gravitates towards that weapon. Everyone has a great time because they're just killing people left, right, and center. Game comes out, and then everyone's disappointed because they tweak stuff. Obviously, they tweak stuff. Yeah, it's just whenever I've played a beta, I've had that same experience over and over again, and it always happens, and it always disappoints me when the game finally comes out, because it's like, oh man, that gun was so good during the beta, and now it's not. So yeah, it happened with Battlefield 1. Like, one of the bolt action rifles was just fantastic. Like, I was just across the landscape just taking people out, and it was just a ton of fun. And then when the game came out, they like weakened that gun way down to the point that it took like 3 bolt action bullets to take someone out, and it was just like, oh man, like this just is not the same game anymore. Still had fun with it when it came out, but it planted that seed in the back of my head of, and
like, it's not the same, doesn't feel the same.
And not to say that they do that stuff on purpose, by the way. There's more cynical people out there that say that, oh yeah, they buff all the guns on purpose, so then everyone like thinks it's going to be a different game. Like, I don't believe that whatsoever. It's stupid. Yep.
What? No. Where's the? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
like, just make the good game.
No pun intended. But like, they don't want to shoot themselves in the foot with that sort of thing at all. You know, like there's no, like it's not worth the pushback basically of.
No, and also, you know, games companies. No offense, Vin, but they don't have the best track record of keeping things spoiler free. And if that sort of practice happened, that would be leaked in a second.
Yeah. I mean, this, I constantly have this with the whole, like, when people are talking about Ubisoft and stuff, like all these conspiracies that come out, certain things. Like, really? Do you think, like, not one of our games can make it out without being leaked, but you think that secret was kept? Really? Like,
yeah.
You know, like, it's so dumb. Yeah. It's, like, the double standard of that is just, it cracks me up every single time. Oh, there's a conspiracy. Like, the marketing team know that they're doing these things. It's like, really? Okay.
Yeah. No, they don't.
They don't. No, they're not. They're just trying to sell you a game, dude. Like, I don't think they've got these grandiose ideas between all these different franchises and stuff. hilarious. But yeah, it's fascinating. But yeah, I think honestly, I think like between like Sony's sort of absence from E3 and everything that's happened with Activision Blizzard, sort of created this void, and I don't think we're going to be out of this void for like a good few weeks, honestly. Like unless some other bad news comes around, which I hope doesn't happen. I would welcome the dry season for a couple of months, if I'm honest. But yeah, it is
actually
what it is.
timing for me is pretty good. Like if there was a massive AAA blockbuster that came out now, for me personally in my situation, I wouldn't be having fun. I would be like, I can't buy it, I want to buy it, I haven't got any money, I really want to play it, I haven't got any money, can't buy it, I haven't got time.
That's fair.
So I'm kind of happy that this is all happening now, because it's the best case scenario in my situation.
Right, for playing games, you mean?
For playing games, yeah. And I've got my PS4 still, and I'm quite happy playing. I mean,
this is the time to catch up on backlog games. That's why I just booted up Hollow Knight, because I do want to get around to this. Like, people have been talking about it for years, and yeah, it feels good so far. So yeah, I'm looking forward to jumping back.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, we should call this like
the backlog season, not the dry
backlog season. Yeah, not dry season. Just get all your backlog done. Like, you still need to do Mass Effect.
I do. I'll get around to Mass Effect 2 one day.
I'm gonna mention it every week.
Yeah. Please keep me accountable. That's the best way.
All right. That's the other thing. Yeah, people still talk about that on Twitter. It's now getting to that point where like the medium average player, since it's come out, has finished the third one, and I'm getting all these Twitters of like, you know, the
actual review of the trilogy now. Yeah.
No, just like people, not reviews, but like just players that are just grateful for it and happy with it, and like they missed it the first time around, or they're young, they never had it when it was out, and or they played it the second time around and just had a completely different experience. And I'm seeing those tweets, and so yeah, that's some good news.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing the same thing about Skyward Sword from Nintendo for Zelda, and I'm just like, it's the worst Zelda game, man. Like, and people are praising this and don't get it. But yeah, that's a conversation for a different time.
I'm liking the memes. I'm liking the Nintendo memes of like the Samus. What's it called? Is it Metroid? Yeah.
Yeah, Metroid. Like leaning over them and stuff with the 25th anniversary thing.
Yeah, or like Zelda's like on the floor picking up his like Nintendo, his like Switch, and there's like his swords on the floor and stuff, and then there's Samus like over Link, like, and what? It's like 26th anniversary or something, and it's just like,
not a big, yep.
I think that's funny.
Yeah,
but that's probably a good place to leave it.
Yeah, we should wrap this thing up. I think we went over a little bit, ironically, considering we had nothing to talk about. We spoke about
day.
No news.
We talked about ourselves. This was a bit of a masturbatory episode, I think.
Yeah, no, it's been good though.
But you know, every once in a while, that's perfectly acceptable.
You gotta let loose. All right. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. I know we got a few people watching live. Please leave a comment, like, subscribe. If you are interested, please hit the bell icon to be notified for when we are going live again, or when we put up a new episode, which is every single week, either on Sunday or Mondays. Like, normally it's on Sundays or now, but yeah, see how that goes. Chris, where can people find you, good sir?
They can find me at Acrylic Pixel on Twitter, and also on YouTube. It's Acrylic Pixels.
And you did mention that you just uploaded a new video for your dev update for your game, right?
Yes, the other day. So I've done a devlog update.
Cool. Yep, and you can find me. I am at Twitter, at Vin Hill Art. You can find me there. Some of my finger paintings, but I'm also probably going to be posting up some more indie stuff soon, because now that ball has started to roll, it's
anime girls all over the shop.
Yeah, and we know how Twitter likes the anime girls, so probably going to get a lot of attention for that. So it's all good. Yeah, you can also find me on ArtStation. I am Vin Hill Art. I post up some of my concept art there, and you can check that out if you're into it. And that's all. But
I would recommend it. It's good. Have a good time.
Yeah, some finger paintings on there. But yeah, until then, until next week, thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you later.
Yep, take it easy.
Bye-bye. Bye.